Hello, my name's Jean-Paul L. Tom and welcome to Bub's Place. If the planes go over, you're going to stop. I mean, for me, modern Australian cuisine encompasses so many different facets and different subcategories. So I can only talk for, I guess, the subcategory that I'm in, which is the migrant story, and telling first, second generation migrants coming to Australia, the lives they lived, the food they cooked, and I think trying to move towards not really just relying solely on memory and nostalgia, and actually trying to understand the anecdotes, the stories of what, generations before us went through. We're kind of pushing the idea of suburban food, which is something we've made up, which is sort of our best way of describing the food we cook without using the WOG word. But there is an emotional and a cultural influence, but it is a heavy influence on the food that we can use and the produce that we can use here, because it's amazing. This beef dish, I guess, was inspired by Middle Eastern spices or Eastern European spices. It was trying to use a more premium cut of meat, because traditionally, you'd use a cheaper cut of meat. That was the inspiration for that, just trying to marry two different worlds that don't usually go together. And the lamb chop today is obviously inspired by the the WOG barbecues. The inspiration for this dish came from, pairing yogurt, cucumbers, or tzatziki and lamb. Well, look, lamb for me is a massive part of growing up as a migrant in Australia, and a lot of the time, lamb was sort of the cheaper cut. As a chef, you want to use good ingredients, and now the fact that we can have such prime lamb, for me that's super exciting, because it means I tick both boxes. We tell the story, and then we can also use the best produce.
Hi, I'm Ozge Kalvo. I'm head chef of Olympus restaurant. To me, modern Australian cuisine is meaning freedom, definitely. Using any cuisine I want, using any ingredients I want, we can do any dish in modern Australian. Well, I would like to see less burrata and more feta in the Australian dining. Can I say that? I found my inspiration always from the previous chefs and the restaurant owners that I worked with. Every single of them are showing me I have to push myself every day. We get the inspiration generally from a very traditional tavernas or home cooking, grandmother's cooking. I think with the Greek cuisine, it's very generous, it's very approachable. I'm doing a lamb dish, which is lamb kokoreçli cigars. That dish inspired from street food from Turkey and Greek streets. And we have this dish, not the same, but a version of it in our menu since the beginning of Olympus. It's one of my favorite. So I made it a version of it wrapped in filo and then fried to serve. The beef dish I have is the beef köfteler. It's another traditional Greek dish that I'm using, also in Olympus kitchen. We are using a secondary cut beefs, well balanced with the fat as well. It needs some fat inside, definitely, köfteles, with some spices, and we wrapped it in coal fat, skewer, and we have some coastal greens, just smoked on the charcoal a little bit. Simple, but delicious.
Hi, I'm Khanh Nguyen and I'm the executive chef of here in King Clarence in Sydney. Yeah, modern Australian cuisine is quite multicultural. There's a lot of bits and pieces from here and there, and I think it makes it unique in a way. When you go to Europe, there isn't anything like that, any restaurants that are as multicultural as what you find in Australia. For me, and when I write my menus, I always focus on traditional flavours. I love intense flavours of different parts of the world, but I try to approach it in a way where it's understandable for the Australian diners. Well, every dish starts a different way. Some dishes start with an amazing piece of protein, or some dishes start with an inspiration of a smell that I can smell in Asia. So the beef dish that I'm doing is kind of like a croquette, but the dish itself is based on a Vietnamese style soup. So it's called bò kho. And the lamb dish, just a simple skewer. The marinade is actually a recipe that I grew up eating. My mum used to make it. It's finished on the charcoal grill, and then garnished with a green tomato and desert lime sambal. Beef and lamb plays a pretty crucial role in my menus because people love beef and lamb, and it is something that we like to showcase with Australian beef. It's so amazing compared to the rest of the world as well. And there's also so many different types of beef we can use, so many different cuts, and so many different grades as well. So it's a very important part of our menu.
My name is Mark Best, and we are at Infinity by Mark Best. That's me. I have watched the evolution of Australian cuisine for quite some time, a couple of decades at least. It really has changed as the city has changed, as the city has grown, as we've embraced the 137 different language groups that eat, drink, live, play here. And so I'm part of that. You know, I'm influenced by what I see every day, sights and sounds, what I eat, where I go to drink, the people I see on the street, all of those sorts of things. The architecture as it changes what I perceive to be modern Australian cuisine. This building, I think, has always been part of our collective consciousness, and I just saw the opportunity, to bring the sort of hospitality to an iconic building and basically make a beautiful restaurant in the sky. I wanted to bring something to it that really celebrated Sydney as a dining destination, and we have a full Australian wine list and a full Australian spirits. So some of the dishes that you'll see on the plate are sort of large format steaks like the Chevelle. I think it's a 7 and 8 plus Wagyu, citrus fed from southern Queensland. Really beautiful piece of meat. We've just simply grilled it over hardwood charcoal and sauced it with a classic veal glaze and with fresh shiitakes from Misty Valley mushrooms. The lamb dish we're serving is the magra, which is the Australian white variety, and we've used the neck. Again, it's cheap cut. I like to celebrate those cheap cuts, but also because it's just incredibly unctuous. And so we slow cook that for nearly 5.5 hours. Then we glaze it in a little bit of lamb jus, make a master stock, classic Chinese master stock, and cook big pucks of daikon, make a kimchi out of that same daikon. I think if we were to define what is Australian or modern Australian cuisine, there really are no rules, and I think that's what makes us stand out. It's hard to define what it is, but we certainly know when we're overseas for a while, we certainly miss it.